Welcome to a special edition of Daily Airline News focusing on the tragic loss of Air India's Boeing 787-8 on Thursday. I'm Jeffrey Thomas and delighted to say that I'm joined by my co-host Richard Godfrey. Good evening to Richard in Frankfurt.
And good evening, Jeffrey.
Yeah, so we did suggest to viewers that we were going to come back to you tomorrow, but we've been absolutely overwhelmed with the episode that we put up today, and we've had over 105,000 views, 4,000 likes, and over almost 1,000 questions. So one of the big themes from those was the rat, and we're going to focus on that. But before I do, many of the comments, in fact, most of the comments were friendly. A few were disrespectful. So can we please keep the debate clean, rational, and respectful, even if we disagree, as we try and deliver you just the facts and limit the speculation as much as we possibly can. But Richard, you've been doing a bit of a more analysis today. Let's start off with this chat about how the 787 handles power in dual engine failure mode.
Yeah, so it's a very important question. The batteries initially power essential avionics and flight systems. The rat quickly deploys to provide hydraulic pressure to flight control actuators. The APU, if the auto start is enabled, comes online to restore electrical power and bleed air to help restart the engines. But, and there's a big but, the APU takes 45 to 60 seconds to come online. The bleed air actually takes a bit longer. And if the flight only lasts 31 seconds, you can see that is not helpful. The rat deployment takes 3 to 5 seconds, so that's a lot quicker and much more useful.
But the question that everybody's asking, and there's a lot of contention over this, is was the rat deployed after takeoff?
It's a very good question. We've had 66 comments asking that question. And I think the answer is from the visual data, it's plausible. There is a small dark gray dot which can be recognized in the CCTV and other footage that we have. From the anecdotal audio data, there is definitely a high-pitched whine you can hear. And the eyewitness reporter from the sole survivor talks about flickering lights in the cockpit. But by the way, someone mentioned there were flickering lights in the previous flight from Delhi that day. So maybe flickering lights is not so conclusive. The fact, which is indisputable, is that the aircraft got airborne. And the other indisputable fact is that the aircraft could not stay airborne.
So we say we do not want to speculate, and we definitely don't. But what are the possible scenarios, Richard, in your view, of what might have gone wrong?
It's unfortunately a long list, Jeffrey. I've counted 8 possible scenarios. I could be wrong, and maybe there are even more. Number 1, a stall. Number 2, airspeed too low. Number 3, a single or double engine failure. Number 4, flight control system failure. Number 5, wind shear. Number 6, low air density. Number 7, flap setting incorrect. Number 8, over rotation. Now, we have discounted from what we said earlier today, wind shear, low air density, flap setting incorrect, and over rotation, but there's still a lot of possibilities. A double engine failure on takeoff is perhaps the most likely scenario based on the limited evidence available at the moment. But I have to say, it has never happened before. There has never been a fatal aircraft accident on a twin jet aircraft due to the loss of both engines on takeoff. It could be the first time, it could have happened, but it is highly unlikely.
Mm. Now, Richard, the other day we discussed the rat since my engineering friend, formerly with Qantas, pointed out to me on the 12th that this was an issue that had been deployed. Um, Please explain to the viewers why we decided not to go public with that information.
Yeah, as you say, we discussed the rat deployment at length since the 12th, but we decided against an attribution of rat deployment to the incident in any formal or public statements. It's wonderful to speculate in private, but we have a number of viewers, and we are careful not to speculate in public. We believe waiting for confirmation from official aviation authorities and the DGSA, the AAIB, NTSB, Boeing, and other bodies are investigating, and that is the most reliable approach to wait for their findings. What is not so well known is that YouTube videos, which we are familiar with, when you upload a YouTube video, there is re-encoding going on. The video is compressed. They use codecs that can introduce motion blur, ghosting, or even create artifacts. And especially around moving objects like a spinning rat or a shadowed fuselage. And audio also contains interpolation and filters. So some content creators use and apply to their video and to their audio contrast enhancement, sharpening, slow motion, stabilization, and it can all exaggerate or misrepresent the fine details. Many of the security camera videos we're looking at are low resolution. Zooming in on these can produce pixelation and make small surface details like flap hinges or seams appear more prominent than they really are. Interpolation using slow motion and frame by frame motion often invents intermediate frames, and they can accidentally generate ghost images or what they call phantom movements that resemble a flap or a rat deployment. And we have been accused in the past of confirmation bias. In other words, we're looking and seeing and hearing what we want to see and hear and not what actually happened. Now we're being accused of not immediately reporting and not believing everything that has been reported elsewhere. So, you can't win, can you?
No. But talking about discussions, we were discussing what's the sequence on. So we've got a double engine failure. That's if that's what we've got. The APU deploys, or does the rat deploy? Is there a sequence there on the 787-8?
Yeah, the first thing is the APU will be kicked in as long as it is in an auto restart mode. So we don't know the cockpit setting for the APU. But even if it did kick in, it would take too long to come online. So the rat will deploy within 3 to 5 seconds. So that would be available immediately. But that only provides hydraulic power, not the electrical power, because the batteries will apply electrical power backup for emergency systems until the APU comes online. But this was all over in 31 seconds. Some people, some viewers have disputed that and said it took 33 seconds. Well, I'm not going to argue about the timeline, but whether it was 31 or 33, but it was all over pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So what is going on in the background?
Well, we decided, much to the disappointment of certain viewers, to wait until unprocessed high resolution video and unfiltered audio became available. And what's going on in the background? There are many vested interests. There are huge number of fake AI generated videos out there, for example. And therefore, it's important to use verified facts. I give you an example. The crash of Air India triggered a swift downward move with the Boeing shares on the stock market. They dropped around 5% immediately and peaked at around 8% in pre-market trading. And as of today, the 15th of June, the Boeing stock remains roughly 5 to 6% below the pre-crash levels. So there's a lot of money involved, a lot of interests involved, but at the same time, there is no conclusive evidence of either a Boeing technical fault or a pilot issue or a ground handling issue.
We should remind viewers there's over 1,150 Boeing 787s in service up till last Thursday, fatality free. There have been a couple of incidents early on. All Nippon Airways, Japan Airlines with lithium battery runaway issue back in 2000, I think it was 11 and 12. That was sorted. And since then, essentially, the aeroplane has performed flawlessly in service with a dispatch reliability of about 99.9%, 5%, equal to the Boeing 777, which is considered the most reliable wide-bodied aircraft in the world. And the issue is this: if there was a design problem with the 787, which there is not, it would have surfaced many, many years ago. So the possibility of this being a 787 problem, I think, is exceedingly remote. That's me not speculating, but that's based on facts. The fact of the matter is, if there is a design problem, it surfaces fairly quickly and then is rectified, and then the design, the aeroplane moves on. But there hasn't been. So.
Yeah.
One personal question, Richard, in fact, I should direct this to myself as well. We've had a couple of people saying you speak too slowly. Now, I'd like you to elaborate on that slowly.
Why do I speak slowly? I'm mindful that many of our viewers, English is a second language. So we choose English for these podcasts. If you prefer, we can do it in German or French or Spanish. But I try to speak clearly and choose my words carefully. Although I was born in the UK, I've lived most of my life outside the UK, and English is in fact also my second language. So all the time I'm actually translating from German what I want to say into English before I speak. I much prefer to speak in German, French, or Spanish. And falls Sie unbedingt in Deutsch sprechen wollen, ou bien en français, yo hablo español parfaitement, hein? I actually speak German most of the time. So sometimes I'm translating what I want to say, and it takes me a bit longer. The Oxford English Dictionary has over 600,000 words. The Leipzig University German Word Database has over 6 million entries. So it gets a bit complicated moving between one language and the other.
And in fact, viewers, I don't know whether you've noticed, but so many of so many of your fellow viewers are from all over the world. It's not a matter of not talking to folks in England or the United States or Australia or Canada. We're talking to people right across the globe, and we get lots of lovely comments from those folks. People in Chile and Brazil and Iceland and Norway. It just goes on, and it's wonderful. So we do need to be very careful about our enunciation and the speed at which we talk. We're not trying to produce a flashy television show. We're trying to deliver facts in a meaningful and a way that everybody can understand. Correct?
Yep, absolutely. And when you've lived a long time in another country, then you will certainly appreciate the difference of dealing in English as a second language.
Mm. So, viewers, this will be up very shortly, as no doubt you'll see. And we'll be doing another one tomorrow, and then again on Tuesday, and probably Wednesday as well, as we get cold hard facts about this terrible tragedy. Because it's not only is it a terrible tragedy, it is the first fatal crash of a 787, an aeroplane that's had an impeccable safety record up till now, and that is really a startling turn of events, and something that needs to be thoroughly investigated so we understand exactly what happened, and as quickly as possible. Because, as I mentioned, there's about 1,111 787s flying all over the world today. It's become the backbone of the long haul fleet, along with the Boeing 777, the Airbus A330, and the Airbus A350, all twin engine aircraft. So therefore, we really need to get to the bottom of this. And not only is it a Boeing issue, it's also an Airbus issue, because Airbus needs to know, exactly what happened on that 787, so they can ensure that the same thing won't happen on an A330 or an A350. So thank you very much indeed, Richard, for your additional work today. Viewers, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your support. And thank you for your questions. They're absolutely fantastic, and we're going to try and get through them. As I mentioned, there's over now 1,000 of them. So we'll do our very best to address the common themes that come out of those questions. And so please tune in tomorrow. We look forward to talking to you again. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.